Welcome to Beyond Synth. Please note, Beyond Synth is an explicit program and may contain inappropriate language. Listener discretion is strongly advised.
Hey there, welcome to the show. My name is Andy Last, and you are listening to Beyond Synth, episode 100. That's right, I'm videotaping this today just so people can see what it looks like when I record the show. Although I'm putting on a little bit of an act because usually I don't have all these lights on. And I'm not often wearing a blazer while I record. I also wear headphones and I'm not always wearing Beyond Synth branded clothing. But anyways, listen, today is episode 100 of Beyond Synth. All right, I've got a guest on that people have wanted me to have on the show for a while, and we're going to talk to him in just a bit. So I thought I would just say a few things because it's episode 100, so indulge me. But I'm going to try and keep it short. I want to thank the Patreons, the people who donate to Beyond Synth, who make Beyond Synth possible, and then I want to say a few words. So let's go to the Patreon.
Now you better listen up, 'cause I'ma tell you what to do. That's gonna show up on Patreon, that's for real. Subscribing, you belong up in the higher echelon. Now let's see who gave money on Patreon.
Alright, as you know, Beyond Synth has a Patreon. That is patreon.com/BeyondSynth. And that is a way that people can donate to the show and support it with their money. Patreon is like a monthly donation thing, so it's kind of like a Kickstarter, except you donate like, $1 a month or whatever. People who donate higher amounts get some special prizes, and it's really helped. So I got to say this up front. It is because of the Patreon that we are at episode 100, and I mean that 100%. The first 3 years of Beyond Synth, there was 15 episodes a season, and that was a year. And it's because of the Patreon that I saw that, people actually they're really enjoying the show. They're willing to support it, financially. And it makes it so even there have been some weeks where there was not a show ready. And I just worked my ass off the day before the show had to come out because people are supporting the show. And that's the reason why. So it's, it's tit for tat. Tit. All right, let's now read some of these lovely people, these people who donate to Beyond Synth. There's Power 85. That's the station that plays Beyond Synth every Thursday nights at 8 p.m. There's Brendan Callum, Rivonia, Bending Unit 22, Lunar Baboon. He's got a very popular web cartoon. You should check it out. He doesn't need my help because he's literally hundreds of thousands of people read that one, but thank you for your support, Lunar Baboon. There's Knox Bello, Terrence Thompson, Nathan Winter, Russ Nyes, Data Suck, Seach, The Fear Merchant, Kanaz, Arjen 1981, Russell Hugo, Kyle, Junk Mail Jeff, and we haven't done Junk Mail in a month. We'll get back to that, Jeff, I promise. He's the only guy who likes that segment, the junk email bag, but we're gonna get back to it. He sent me some really funny ones, so I'm gonna have to read those for sure. Then there's Python Blue, talented synthwave artist, man. Check out his stuff. He's been on the show before, and you should check it out because it's cool. Then there's Airman, Adrian King, Replicant 81, Katner, Max Hutchings, Zycorax, I90RR, Mitch Wiseman, Jeff Block, Tomasz Bubinichek, Chris Schmokel, 420 Chris Schmokel. Then there's Common Synths, and now we've got my lovely $5 Pattersons. All right, these are the people who donate $5 a month because they are super cool. There's Kai and Saloya, X-Riz Music, Joe and Lando. Now they have a podcast called The Ozone Nightmare. I've been on the Ozone Late Night. That's the one that Joe hosts himself, and we would talk for like hours. There's like these like 3-hour episodes of just like me talking. So if you like that, which I know not many people do, there's Roman, Devious Raven, Bobby B, John Eternal, Dougie Fresh, Lame Robot, Mono Memory. I think I played Mono Memory tracks on the show before. Florence Bullock, who actually just sent me some tracks the other day, and they're pretty good. So I'm gonna play some of her tracks on an upcoming show. There's Matthew Lister, Simon Norberg, Veilingo, which is a great website you can check out if you like synthwave. They've got interviews and stuff. Lots of guests who are probably too big to appear on this show, but you can read their answers in print, so that's a good place to go. Then there's New Gat Ninja, Greg Smith, who is also ULOS. You should check him out. He's got some tracks that I dig. Mike Shima. Still don't know how to pronounce your name, and I have not gotten clarification. I think it's Shima. Could be Shema. Who knows? The Rosconian. Night Raptor. Night Raptor makes music you should check out. Then there's Stu M. Ross Pentland. Dana Jean, this is new this week, Dana Jean Phoenix. Of course you know who Dana Jean is. She's a voice on a ton of synthwave tracks. She was on the show in season 1, and I saw her perform about 3 weeks ago, and it was a lot of fun. It's in like a little bar, and then she got on a little wireless mic, and she started walking through the crowd, singing, and it was a good time. She had light up shoes. So thank you, Dana, for your support of the show, and go listen to Dana's music. I think she's got a new album coming out. Then there's new donor Tristan Wades, Weyds, no idea how to pronounce that, buddy. You let me know, Tristan. Thank you very much for your support, by the way. It means a lot to me. And let me know how to pronounce your name so I do it right. I'm a stickler for name pronunciation. And of course, Ethan Hennings. And then we get to the donation of the beast, which of course $6.66. When people donate that amount, the donation of the beast, it makes me laugh. And there's now a new donation of the beast, which is amazing. So of course, Hellroy started the whole thing. Shout out to Hellroy with $6.66. And then Lucas Ceballos joined the donation of the beast. Last week we had a new member, Blake Peterson. And this week, a new member of the donation of the beast and a new donor to Beyond Synth, Carm. Thanks, Carm, for your support and for being part of the donation of the beast. $6.66, Satan. And thank you very much for your support. You're a cool guy, Carm. And from your thumbnail image, bald as well. So there's that. And you're wearing glasses. Anyways, let's go to my lovely $10 Pattersons. These guys donate $10 a month because they're super cool. All right? There's Jake Last, who is not related to me, I don't think, but is a cool guy, and he's also a graphic designer, so check him out. Jake Last Designs, or I don't know what it's called, but check it out. He did my logo, which is on this shirt. He redid it. He made me some designs that I've used for some business cards and things, but you're going to hear about that in the future. I'll do a proper plug for Jake, but thank you for your support. Then there's Trevor Resnick. He's a cool guy too. He sends me links to tracks all the time, and it helps me out because a lot of time goes into making the show. You know, when people send me links and say, hey, have you heard this track? Have you heard this? And I check it out, and if it's cool, you know, I get in contact with the artists and play their tracks on the show. So thank you, Trevor, for your support and for sending me music links and stuff. I do check them out. I think sometimes because he'll send me links over the course of like a few weeks and I don't really say anything in response, I just play them and go, okay. And then when I finally respond, he's like, oh, you finally responded to that? And I'm like, no, I listen to them all. I do. Colin Bennett. FM84, super talented artist. You know, I've talked about those, the Atlas album from last year was like one of the best ones, and he's a super talented guy, so check out FM84. Then there's Fraser Trousers 1984, which is of course Fraser Davidson. Thank you for your support, buddy. You can check out my thank you video that I made for him on YouTube, and he was also on the listener episode as well. Then there's Victor Garza, who's got a name I just love to say, Ezra Van Dam. Will Lowe, who I just made a video for, which I just posted I think 2 days ago, so check that out. And then there's Winfield, Nathaniel Rivera, Polly Digital, who is my actual cousin, and Jacob Wick. And they're all cool people. And of course, this week, we've got the king of the Pattersons, Chris Dance, with a $25 donation. That guy is super fucking cool. in my book. Thank you very much for your support, buddy. It means a lot to me. And thank you everybody for donating to the Beyond Synth Patreon. It is the reason why the show is still going. And if you want to support the show, go to Beyond Synth. Nope, go to patreon.com/BeyondSynth and help out the show. So listen, we're going to get to the interview in just a second. Beyond Synth, episode 100, okay? I think it's crazy that we've done 100 episodes, and I want to thank all the people who were there at the beginning who really sort of helped the show get going. You know, when I first discovered the synthwave scene through Hotline Miami and listening to Perturbator, when I discovered Ogre, you know, I got in contact with him. I didn't know there was a scene. And I thought, if I do this podcast, I'm going to have to reach out to these people individually, you know, on Twitter or whatever. And he took a chance. Like, Ogre took a chance because the show didn't exist. It could have been really shitty. You know, who knows? So I always am grateful to Robin for being my first guest and for writing one of my favorite songs of all time, Sure Thing, which is the theme song to Beyond Synth. That song is so fucking good, and Ogre is a really talented dude who's made a lot of awesome albums. You know, he was the first guest. So that's, you know, I'm always going to be thankful for that. And because he makes cool music. And of course, Hoo-Ha, who does all the jingles on the show, Mike Mendoza, because he introduced me to the synthwave scene. He's the one who told me about synthetics and introduced me to my first set of guests. I heard his track Outrunning, also one of my favorite songs, on one of those new Retrowave compilations. I don't think that song's on there anymore, but what would the synthwave scene be without a little drama? But it was there at the time, and it's a great song, and I reached out to him. He turned out to be a fun guy. We recorded a test episode, which I never released, and then he introduced me to Vincenzo Salvia, Protector 101, Highway Superstar, Sunglasses Kid, and I don't know if I've ever said this, but the whole reason why I ever got in contact with Adam McNabb from Le Cassette was an actual mistake. Because Hoo-Ha said, oh, I'll send you Sunglasses Kid's contact info, and he sent me Adam's instead. And so when I got in contact with Adam, it's like, oh, and then I finally realized, oh, this is the guy from Le Cassette. And then, of course, Tonight by Le Cassette is still one of my favorite songs of all time. I mean, I think that's the thing about the synthwave scene. One thing that's amazing is I've got to chat with a whole bunch of really fun people. I've got to make some great friends. The scene is cool because it's not focused on one specific thing. It's about a time. So we have all these different things to talk about, and everyone seems to share in those common interests. So it's not just the music, but it's movies and TV and cartoons and video games, and all these things that we grew up with are all sort of encompassed in this scene. And so that's why it's a lot of fun to talk to people, because it's not that restricted. You know, and a lot of people in the scene are really funny. I mean, like, I can't believe the amount of fun conversations I've had with people. I mean, of course, Le Cassette, I have to say, because, you know, those are the funniest shows. They're a bunch of really funny guys and also talented. It's really fun to chat with people who you respect as artists, you know, and I do. I think it's really cool. You know, there's a bunch of people in the scene who have produced songs that are like some of my favorite songs of all time. I don't listen to synthwave as if it's this separate thing. You know, like, oh, here's real music and then here's synthwave. Like, no, like, there's artists who have made some of my favorite tracks of all time. Tonight by Le Cassette is one of my favorite tracks of all time. You know, and Ogre and all the other artists who make cool things. I know I keep mentioning the same ones, but you know. So I want to thank all the guests who've been on the show. You know, because of course that's what keeps the show going. That's why people tune in. They don't tune in for me. They're tuning in for the guests. And there have been some great ones over the years and some fun ones and people who I've had back multiple times because, you know, they're fun to chat with. You know, I always like having Protector 101 back on the show. He likes to giggle. Hoo-Ha, we know we have a lot of fun. Le Cassette. Who have I had back too? Like, I've had a bunch of people. Oh, Droid Bishop, you know. And, I mean, there's too many to fucking name. I'm looking at the list now, and it just keeps on going on and on. But, you know, Grooveworthy, Dana Jean Phoenix, Arc Neon, D.A.D., who I got a chance to meet briefly when he was up in Toronto, Perturbator, Betamax, who's staging a comeback, Alpha Boy, Kid Casio, Mega Drive, Arcade High, Swagbot, does that dude even make music anymore? Christine, Magic Sword. You know, those Magic Sword episodes are the most popular ones. So again, sometimes I just have to thank the guests. When people love the guests, they listen to the show. It's got nothing to do with me, and I know that. Believe me, I'm very self-aware of how shitty I am. Then there's Vector Sector and Hauer, Celerect LA Dreams, Dallas Campbell, Future Holotape, Phaserland, Dan Terminus, Blushes. I don't even think they're a band anymore, so it's like a time capsule. It's great. Lockheed James, Python Blue, Robots with Ray Guns, Ghost, Damon Hatfield, Von Herzog, Gunship, Moondragon, Chalk Dinosaur, Miami Nights 1984, The Midnight, the guys who directed the fucking Carpenter Brutes video Turbo Killer, Seth Ickerman, which is like the best music video, one of the best music videos ever made. And those guys were on the show, and that was cool. Dance with the Dead, who I got to see perform in Toronto. Jaunter, RF Extreme, Nina, Let 'Em Riot, Fempop, Makeup and Vanity Set. That was a great two-parter. Myron, Giant Spirit, Pilot Priest, who is like one of the best. Pilot Priest is so good, and we did a fun chat where we were walking around Toronto. Rick Shithouse, the guy that started Synthetics FM, and Noah Kaufman from Synthwave's KFAI, because he's on the actual radio, and he's got some pretty cool guests on his show. Empathy Test, Data Stream, the Astral Stereo Project, Syntax, Lematos, who I also got to see play in Toronto with Carpenter Brute, and those guys are really cool and very inspiring too. Because when I talk to Lematos, they're always they're pushing me to do more with the show. And one of my favorite moments from the Carpenter Brute show was Lematos telling one of their fans about my show. Because I'm so shitty at promoting myself. I'm taking the picture. Like, I got the guy's camera to take a picture of him with Le Matos. And then Jean-Philippe is like, hey, you know who this guy is? You know, he's Beyond Synth, you know this? And like, he's like, he's pimping my show when I can't. And I'm just like, wow. And I'm super talented dudes, man. And of course, Dynatron. And yeah, I think that's everybody, right? I mean, we just did Perturbator. That was the two-parter. So look. Thank everybody. Thank you for listening to Beyond Synth. It means a lot to me. I hope to do a lot more. It's always been important to me to do a show that was fun for people to listen to. I get that the show is light. You know what I mean? It's not like a very heavy show, but I mean, that's the point. All day on Twitter, Facebook, we are just bombarded with how shitty everything is. Shitty stuff that's going on, shitty stuff that's gonna go on, shitty stuff that might happen. And that's all I see all day. And I don't know what the future holds, you know. I would love to do more, and if the circumstances allow me to do more shows, I will. But I always like the idea of keeping the show light because I want it to be an escape. Because quite frankly, we're just bombarded all the time with shit, right? I mean, every day, it's just fucking pictures of just horrible things, and like, you know, and it stresses me out. Okay, I'll admit it, I get stressed out by world events. So I like to make Beyond Synth a place that's sort of where that's not really in the conversation. And I know some people might think that's a cheat or that, you know, we should be talking about this stuff all the time. But I also believe that, you know, if you just want to be able to relax and have some fun with some like-minded people, that is what Beyond Synth is all about, because we get enough garbage everywhere else, and I want this place to be fun, and that is my mission statement. I've got like 50 mission statements, but that's one of them. Anyways, thank you all for listening to Beyond Synth. It means a lot to me. Thanks for all the kind words, and I hope to do many more. And now, here is my long overdue conversation with Lazerhawk. So here's what I'm gonna do, man.
Okay. Edit out the yawning parts.
I'll pitch bend, so if you're in the middle of a word while it's yawning, I'll...
Dude, can you auto-tune the yawning somehow? That'd be amazing.
That would be amazing. I don't know if I'm gonna have time to do that. This episode would air like... Usually I record these things like 4 months before I air them.
Let's just do it live.
Oh, that would be bad. Then people will find out how like racist I am for real. Usually I edit that stuff out. I've got a lot of interesting theories. Anyways, let's fucking start. So, all right, and I am here. You like that? I switched to radio voice. I am here with Lazerhawk.
Hey, Andy.
How is it going, man?
It's going all right. It's great.
Garrett Hayes. That's your name.
That is my name, Garrett Hayes, a.k.a. Lazerhawk, a.k.a. some guy.
Well, listen, you've been a very elusive fellow here on Beyond Synth. You're one of the big names that people are always like, have Lazerhawk on the show. And for 100 episodes,
You've tried. We've talked about this. How long? When do you think the first time that you messaged me like, hey, man, can you come on this show? Was that like, 2010?
Before it even existed. I did it 3 years before the podcast started. I'm like, I need this guy on the show. And I just knew that this film Drive was going to come out in several years and was going to inspire a bunch of people to...
Is that good? I've never watched that movie. I've heard so many people say like, oh, you should do the soundtrack. You should have been on the soundtrack for that, man.
You've never watched Drive?
I've never watched Drive.
Really?
It's rare, but it happens.
It's going to be very anticlimactic once you do. It's like, it's not a very crazy movie. It's just when I saw it, I wasn't in the synthwave scene or whatever, so I just heard on some movie podcast, like, hey, it's got kind of a cool electronic score, and I'm like, cool, I'll check it out. And so I really liked the movie, but in hindsight, with so many people using it as a reference point for making their own music, if you watch it now, you might be going in expecting something else, and it's really just a, you know.
So I should watch it and then make my next album.
Yeah, exactly. It inspires everybody to do that.
Can I call it Drive? Is there like a copyright infringement if I do?
Is that something that the synthwave scene is concerned with? Copyright infringement?
Copyright? Yeah, they're like, yeah, we're coming down on you. Oh, no, we're not.
Yeah.
That's a waste of our time.
Yeah, we're going to sue you and your 10 listeners. And
for hundreds of dollars we're talking about.
Yeah, I would love to see that actually, like if they actually did sue for like a percentage of revenues and like, here's your $78.
Yeah, bastards.
How are you doing today, man?
I'm doing well-ish.
Yeah, I know you're a little tired.
It's possible. It's possible. We had some guests over last night, so we stayed up. We burnt the midnight oil and like the 2 a.m. oil.
I love that oil. Gets you fucked up.
Oh man, we went to this restaurant. I got this bottle of beer called Black Metal, and that's the reason why I bought it. And it turned out to just be really shitty beer.
It sounds kind of shitty.
I do not advise.
Was it like a local brew?
I guess it is. It's like Austin Hill Country Brewers of beer, and they made this beer, and it's called Black Metal. And I was like, is there a guy on the label that has like corpse paint on him? I have to see this. And it's like, it came in like a 750 bottle, right?
Nice.
And I was like, hey, everybody at the table, are you guys going to help me drink this? And they're like, of course we are not going to help you. So I ended up drinking all that Black Metal. It wasn't that great. I don't advise it. It was $24, man. Come on.
What?
$24 for a beer.
Look at you, eh? You fucking high roller.
That's right. That's how I do.
Drinking $24 bottles. But you know what, the Canadian dollar, that's like a $38 bottle of beer.
It's like a paycheck.
Yeah. That's how they pay us up here.
Our money's, is it actually better now?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
In Canada? So if I go to Canada, I can be like rich instantly?
Yes.
Sweet. How do I get up there? How do I move to Canada?
And you just drive up. I keep seeing videos all the time of people coming over the border and people stopping them. That's like what the news likes to show.
Please help us. Save us.
Yeah, it's happening a lot, actually.
JT.
The only time our dollars, in my recollection, were ever comparable.
I thought it was pretty even.
No, it was like at like 2006 and 7. Like when I worked I used to work at a bank, and when I did, it was for not a long period of time, because they would always show the exchange rates on the wall, because that's a big part of our money, is always how it stacks to American money. And it was only during like, I think it was like 2006, 2007, where they went to parity, and I think at one point the Canadian dollar was worth like 1 cent or 2 cents more for like a week. But now it's back to where it used to be. So it's pretty much, okay. I think for like $1 American dollar, you get like $1.25 or $1.30 Canadian.
Nice.
Yeah.
So does that mean that my $24 beer is $30 in Canada?
Your $24 beer probably would have been like $32, $33 Canadian, maybe more.
Man, see, so it's just like it's a lose-lose thing, man.
Well, I think buying a bottle of beer for that much money is a lose anyways, isn't it?
That's true.
Especially if it's bad.
Especially when it tastes like that. It's supposed to be like an imperial stout, like a 10% type deal. That was probably like a good sign, like not to buy it in the first place.
I just drink lagers. I'm not really like a beer connoisseur, and whenever I dabble with the 10% beers.
I'm more of a alcohol connoisseur.
Yeah, when it's with beer, it becomes really sort of bitter and it's gross.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But what do I know, right? See, I'm not a guy. I'm not really like a sampler.
You're Canadian. You know everything about beer.
Not really.
There's like a whole movie about it.
Yeah.
I've never seen that movie either.
What, Strange Brew?
Yeah.
You want to make a list of all the movies? You know what? I'll go on IMDb and I'll
start a list.
I'll surprise you with like the 80s, like considering this whole scene and all these people talking about 80s all the time. Like there's a shit ton of 80s movies I haven't seen.
Oh yeah.
Which maybe I'll list periodically as we go. But listen, we got to start diving into the Lazerhawk, man.
What are we diving into?
We're literally gonna start from the beginning here, and we're gonna dive in.
Uh-oh.
This is a very important retrospective.
All right.
Because obviously it's cool that you're here on this very special show. You know, I've been bugging you to be on it for a while. You're actually the only one I bug.
Really?
Everyone else I stop bugging. Mitch Murder I bug sometimes.
How's that working out? Seems like you'd be all over that. Come on, Mitch. Do this.
Yeah, I don't know.
Do it.
Maybe I can convince him to one of these days.
Mitchie.
But I have a similar relationship where like there's these people who, you know, they go like, oh, have them on the show, and meanwhile I'm having like a simultaneous like friendly chat on Facebook, but then like the show part doesn't really happen.
Yeah, that's sort of like what we've been doing for a while.
Yeah. Well, like 3 years.
And Miami Nights, right? That was like a thing. We used to just like enjoy like teasing you to be on your show, I think. Hours of amusement.
Yeah, well, we all had a good time.
I think we still do.
Well, it's all good. I mean, well, obviously, like, Mr. Glover's loosened up on the idea because he's been on a few times.
Oh, he's been on a few times? What? Where was I?
Well, he also did the Christmas episode this year.
Oh, nice.
It was a very special occasion. Anyways, listen, we're going to listen to some fucking music. All right?
Do it.
Because that's what it's all about.
Push the buttons.
So we're going back in time to before Drive, which is exciting because there's very few artists in this scene who were there before it was a scene, and before the movie Drive. You were one of them, of course. And the music of Lazerhawk is awesome. And this was from the album Redline from early 2010, and this is the titular Redline track by Lazerhawk. And that was Redline by Lazerhawk, and I'm here with
Sounded so
Lazerhawk
good.
right now. It's a good track. You came out of the gate making cool music.
Yeah, thanks. I tried.
So the real question is, or just the question, is obviously you guys didn't have Drive as a thing to be the instigator. So why were you making music?
I don't remember what year it was. It was probably like early 2000s. And I used to do some electronic music when I was in school. I'd stopped doing that, and I got back to Sacramento where I was living, where I'm from, and I heard Kano on college radio, and I was way into that, and I busted out my software, started recreating Kano, tried to recreate the vocoder tracks. Then I just sort of put that away for years, moved to Austin, and saw a bunch of live music, and I was like, I want to do some music, sure, but you need, other people to do most types of music. So I kind of started doing the same crappy electronic music I used to do, and then I remembered oh wait, that Kano I was trying to do and figure out how to do, that was kind of fun, so I started doing that again. And I think it was Bogdan Bulgari, right? Urkirk. Bogdan Urkirk. How do you say that?
I have no idea.
Complicated. There's this guy, he's awesome.
Valiant
His
effort.
name is Bulgari, right? I don't even Bulgari, like the watch or whatever the hell that is. What do those guys make? Jewelry? You know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't. That's why I'm laughing. It's awesome. So you said you were making music for school? Did you do a creative school, or was that just your hobby at the time?
No, it was, I went to this place called Expression Center for New Media, and I had, in my mind, I was going to do studio recording, or live music recording, sound engineering, and when I signed up for that school, there was a guy who was, I guess, a counselor, and he was like, "You're not gonna make it." And I was like, I'm here to sign up for this school. He's like, just know this, your entire life you're gonna make no money, and it's gonna be terrible. You're not gonna get a job.
That guy sounds awesome.
And I was like, that's a hell of a sales pitch, and so I left, and I was like, well, shit, I guess I'm not gonna do that, man. And for some reason I came back, and that guy was fired. So I was like, screw that guy, he's wrong. But he was kind of right. So I never used any of it. I tried to get a job in the Bay Area. I couldn't, because most people with studios are this is my thing. I maybe have myself and one other guy that own and operate this place, and we don't have time for some kid that wants to learn this.
Sure.
So I moved back to Sacramento and just sort of gave up there too. It was the same thing. It's I couldn't find, I was like, hey, I will work for free. Just let me see what this is about. And I just could not find anyone to let me do it.
Right.
But it did come in handy eventually, right? Because I can apply some of the stuff I learned, I guess.
Every time I hear anyone talk about Kano, I just think immediately of Mortal Kombat Kano.
Yeah, there is that Kano.
He has a metal plate in the side of his head with an eye that shoots a laser.
Right. What's his finishing move though?
He heart rip.
Remember.
He does the heart rip.
Oh, right.
And then in the censored Super Nintendo version, he still sticks his hand into the guy's chest but pulls out a shoe or something. It's this kind of weird blue blob. And I don't know how that was necessarily a censorship, because I guess since it wasn't bleeding...
Yeah, it's oh, he just pulled out a shoe from his chest.
Yeah, I don't know. To this
the
day,
blue shoe.
I don't know what it's meant to be. If it's supposed to be a kidney or something.
It's something that you can lose, something you have two of.
So it's not a fatality, technically.
They're it's fine. He's going to get over that. Couple of surgeries, he'll be okay. And a transplant.
It's his tonsils.
Yeah.
They pulled out of his stomach.
His appendix was removed.
So when you went into school then, when you're saying you want to do kind of studio work, would that mean you want to be a mixer or producer kind of thing? Or was the dream to make music?
It wasn't. It was to just be involved in making music, really. Because at one point I wanted to do the whole composition track in school, like music theory and all that good stuff.
Sure.
And I was like, yeah, that's the end game for me, is to like teach, I guess, or compose. So I was like, that's not gonna happen either. And I wanted to be involved in music. Well, I can do this and be like the blue collar music producer, recording engineer guy. And then that damn guidance counselor was right the whole time, Andy.
Yeah, when I grow up, my dream is to be that guy, the guy that like sits in front of a school and tells people they're not gonna make it.
Yeah.
That guy sounds wicked.
I could be that guy.
Yeah.
You suck, kid. Never gonna be anything. Save your cash.
Well, listen, that guy was wrong, and we're gonna listen to some cool music right now. This is another track from Redline. This was Electric Groove by Lazerhawk.
Nice.
And that was Electric Groove by Lazerhawk, and I'm here with Lazerhawk right now.
Oh man, that was a good one.
Now talk to me about Electric Groove. It's got some catchy vocals in there.
Yes, those are my vocals.
So you don't do that very often. I mean, isn't that the last time you did that?
Yeah, that was like the first time and the last time, I feel like. I mean, So Far Away has my vocals on it too, but it's got 3 words.
Right.
So I only have to hear myself say 3 different words, so
Yeah.
that's okay, I guess. The weird thing is, like, I don't even know why I did that. It's like, it's sort of a necessity, I guess, right? Like, I wanted some vocals and didn't have anyone to do it, so I was like, I guess that leaves it up to me.
Yeah.
I'm doing it. And then I have to, like, hear myself over and over.
Yeah.
But the, like, mixing and mastering process is probably what really sealed the deal for me, like not doing a lot more lyrics ever, because it's like I have to hear myself over and over, and I'm like, I can hear like every problem with my voice or with tone or pitch, and I'm just like, I can't deal with that anymore. It's like people that hear themselves on like a message recording or something, and they're just like, oh, that's the way I sound? Like,
Yeah.
it's terrible.
It sounds good though. I mean, like, it's a catchy thing. It gets stuck in my head.
Thank you.
On an electric groove. Anyway, that's me singing it back to you.
That was amazing.
Yep.
You're gonna have to like hear that over and over now when you listen to this.
Oh, I'm used to that.
Okay.
Listening to my own voice. See, when you talk about that experience of people who have to hear their voices on their answering machine, when I do it, I just sit there and
You're like, ooh.
get a boner because I just love the sound of my own voice.
And now another recording for me to listen to later.
Yeah.
This is Andy. I've got a boner.
What I usually do is I pretend to be a robot on my answering machine. So I'll do like an automated recording that's like, if you have a message for, and they'll be 416. Well, I was just about to give my real number there. Anyway, I do. Anyway, I have an actual phone number.
5555555.
Yeah, so if I was going to make up a number, you know, like just if you have a message for Andy last, and I'll like say it like away from the microphone, so it's like I pre-recorded the thing, because I'm an idiot and I waste a lot of time doing a lot of dumb things. Hey, talk to me about how you met Miami Nights 1984.
Oh yeah,
Michael Glover, because obviously you guys engaged in a very special partnership of sorts.
So this is back in the MySpace days, like 2008 maybe. Seeing what other people were doing on MySpace is definitely part of what got me started. I think that there were people on MySpace that were taking Italo disco tracks and groups and creating a profile for them on MySpace.
Right.
So I think one of the first pages I found was like Cyber People, maybe. You know, it's like they have like their friends listed, so it's like, oh hey, what's this? I think that's how I found Kavinsky, and then maybe ActRaiser, and Power Glove, and so I just started like cruising around on MySpace, like looking through other people's friends and like finding this good music. And so I was like, you know, I want to make music, so I'll start myself a MySpace page. What kind of name can I come up with for myself? And Lazerhawk is just something that's stuck around, I guess. I think I was at lunch with a couple of friends, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna start making some music, and this is kind of like the music, and let me show you an example. And it's real 80s. It's got an 80s vibe to it, so let's come up with some names. And for some reason I was like, the first name I came up with was Lazerhawk, and they came up with like a million other names, and I was like, that's shit. I'm making an executive decision here, guys. We're going with Lazerhawk.
Yeah.
Then I started putting out tracks, and I don't know if I messaged him. I must have messaged him and asked him a question or something. And yeah, we just sort of started passing messages back and forth and hit it off, and I'd show him the track I was working on, he'd show me a track he was working on, and we'd bounce ideas back and forth, and just a great, weird online friendship. It still is, because he lives in Canada.
Yeah.
And I don't have a passport. I'm lazy.
Well, he lives in a nice part of Canada, because Victoria is, he's over there.
That's what I've heard. He's like, you know, like sending me a picture of what he's doing. I'm just like, that's beautiful, man. Like, the beach is amazing, or he's out in the woods or camping or something. It looks amazing.
The only real flaw in that whole place because that is like the nicest part of Canada. Their weather can almost be, it's a completely different weather over there. But at one point, there will be a earthquake tsunami that just destroys that place.
Right. The like Cascadia subduction zone or whatever.
And I feel like Victoria is going to be one of those places that just literally gets pulverized by like the first part of the wave.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's to look forward to at least, right?
Yeah, the only reason why I bring up the weather thing is because I always find that every place has its... There's always the flaw, right? So like here, there's no real tornadoes or crazy storms or anything, but obviously we've got the crazy winter, which causes the, you know, like the roads to fucking crack and get destroyed. And then there's these other places that have like nice warm temperature where the roads don't have to be upkept like every year, but then they have to have like tornado-proof windows and shit.
Yeah, like Austin, it's probably the coolest city, like weather-wise in Texas, maybe. There's like a hill country that surrounds Austin. It's cool-ish, but it's Texas, man. Like, it's gonna be like 85 plus forever.
Yeah.
And like there'll be like a month or two where it's like every day is pretty much guaranteed to be 100, and the humidity is just like jacked. So you like walk outside and you're just like, I want to walk inside. I wanna be out here. Like I've seen videos of really lazy people like that get into their car or truck in their garage, open the garage door to pull out to the mailbox, and then go drive back into their garage because they're just like, if I step outside, I might just die.
Yeah.
Like because there's no AC outside. There's not a big enough AC for that.
They just put their pedal to the metal.
Ooh.
Which is my segue.
That's an excellent segue.
To this was like a heavier track from the album Redline. This one's cool, and we're gonna listen to it, man. This is Pedal to the Metal by Lazerhawk. That was Lazerhawk with the track Pedal to the Metal. Now I'm here with Lazerhawk right now talking about putting pedal to the metal and getting the mail in the comfortable confines of a car with AC because the weather in Texas is very hot. What was your motivation to move to Austin then? Just because it's like a cool place?
Well, it's definitely got one over on Sacramento, which is not a cool place.
What is the vibe of Sacramento? I don't know anything about that place. It's got the word sack in it, that's all I know.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I need to know. It's not like sack in a good way either.
What would the good way be?
There's good things that come in sacks, man. Come on.
Oh yeah, Santa Claus! I fucking completely forgot about Santa Claus.
Right?
I was giggling because of testicles, but then I completely forgot that Santa Claus carries his presents in a sack.
Yeah, that's more like Sacramento. It's more the testicle variety of sack. But every time I go back to Sacramento, it's like, hey, what? Remember that place? Oh, it's closed. Oh, that sucks. Like, what replaced it? Nothing.
Right.
Okay. Well, what's going on in Sacramento? Like, people are stealing power lines for money. You know? It's like the copper.
Oh yeah, no, that goes on everywhere. The fucking copper wire.
Yeah.
Classic.
It's nothing happens there. It's just stagnant. Mm-hmm. It's depressing to go back there, and it's like, Sacramento. Yeah, Austin's, at least you got like your live music, your extremely hot weather that's a constant chore to be in. But I mean, there's like bars downtown. Like I like that Austin has like an entire street like dedicated to drinking. Let's just get it all out of the way in this nice little area. It's neat. It's called 6th Street. It's cool. That's where all the live music's happening. It's a fun place. And then it's the rest of Texas.
Right. So that's my question, because like I always find Austin very fascinating. Like I don't know much about the States really. My geography's shit, but I understand that weirdness about Austin being like this place that's like this artist community, and you know all these like, you know, music and comedy and all this stuff that goes on there, but then that it's in Texas.
Right.
So do you feel that?
There's some weird stuff that goes down in Texas, man. Like there's what's that place called? Oh man, I just blew it. I blew it, Andy. I just had a mind sack.
Kano.
There's a place in Texas. God damn it, this is gonna bother me now. It's a super small town in the middle of nowhere.
If you type in "there's a town in Texas," was it gonna pull up what you want?
I'm gonna type in like Texas.
Just type in Alexis, Texas.
Marfa. I've been in this place, Marfa. It's like a super small town. It's like another thing that sucks about Texas, you can't leave Texas. If you live in Austin, it's like, do you want to drive like 4 or 5 hours this way, or 4 or 5 hours this way, or 4 or 5 hours this way? You can't escape.
Does Austin have an airport?
It does. That costs money though, you know?
Yeah. Oh, I'm just wondering, so like for the people who come to Austin, they fly in and they go directly into the village.
The
and
people
stay
that
there.
come to Austin, they're like, you know, big ballin'. We've got the Formula One track here now. So you get like, you know, super rich folk that just come for the like Formula One race and spend money, I guess. Just like buy a hotel or something.
Those things that rich people do.
Just throw it away when they're done, you know?
God.
I would be the best rich person. I don't know about you.
I think I would be pretty cool because like I have lots of fun ideas.
Exactly.
Like one thing I want to do for sure is I want to build like a mansion that has all those cheesy secrets that like you see in movies and stuff.
Like a secret door, like you push the like bookcase just right.
Yeah, exactly. The bookshelf that fucking spins. I want to have the trapdoor staircase, so when people are coming to get you, you pull the lever at the top and it fucking turns into a slide.
Ooh.
I want to have the painting with the eye holes, so you can watch ladies undress. I told you I'd be a really cool rich guy.
Racy. You're not only a cool, you know, rich guy, you're kind of creepy a little bit.
Maybe you and I have different interpretations of what cool means.
Yeah.
But to me, it means... Well, technically, you don't need to be rich to do that, though. Like, you're always seeing stories on the news of people with fucking, like, webcams, like, stuck in holes in the ceilings and, like, filming their tenants and shit.
Right.
And if you read one of those stories, you would have seen my name.
And you could do it, you know, for a lot less money.
Yeah, exactly. So really, we can live our dreams now, is what I'm saying.
We have the technology.
Yeah.
To to spy on people
Yeah, we're all rich.
and be like super creepy.
But in all seriousness, I would build a trapdoor staircase, a rotating bookshelf, and what else? Oh, a house connected by those like McDonald's play tube things, like, you know, like the slides.
Oh, nice.
You buy two houses next to each other, and then the one is like the top
Got
end.
like a weird like hamster tube.
Yeah. And you can slide down. And some sort of underground thing. Like when I was a kid, you know, and I'd like, fantasize with my buddies. Wouldn't it be cool if we had this, you know, when we were children? And the idea of like having like an underground network of tunnels that you drove go-karts in, and there'd be like doors so you could go to your buddy's house like underground.
Oh man, this is an excellent idea.
Yeah, man.
See, you'd be an amazing rich guy.
That coupled with me creepily spying on people.
Well, yeah.
Through paintings.
Well, I mean, you gotta have hobbies, right?
But you know how funny it would fucking be if you went to somebody's house and they just did it as a joke. Like the painting's just in the main room. It's not in a bedroom or anything.
Right.
And then the dude is literally behind the painting and making it very clear that his eyes are moving like in the painting.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, it's got... those paintings always have, like, eyes that are part of the painting, and then, like, you have to, like, you know, move them out of the way and replace them with your own eyes.
Yeah.
And, like, no one seems to notice that.
Yeah.
But I think I would.
Yeah, it'd be so fucking
Be like,
funny.
what the fuck is wrong with that painting? Why are the eyes so realistic?
I don't know, like the way my brain works, that's why I think it'd be fun to be rich, is because I always just think of ways that would be like, wouldn't this be a really funny idea that like two people would find funny? Like I also want to open up stores that clearly don't do proper business. You know, like where you pay all the money to open up a store in the mall, and like there's like one pencil in there and the rest of the store is like some weird like paper mache recreation of like World War I, and like just no one understands what the store is. Just this weird like, what is this place? Like there's all these mannequins and like war gear, and like the only thing for sale is like a single pencil.
Yeah.
And if you were rich, like that's what I would do. I would just do like these weird ideas that would
weird
like,
shit. That's what I'm talking about.
I'd laugh, and like one person would get the joke, and I'd be like, I literally just leased a store in the mall for like $120,000 a year for this joke that is not very funny.
That I get.
Yeah. And even halfway through the building, I'd be like, holy fuck, I'm bored of this.
Maybe like other rich people would be like, that is hilarious.
Yeah.
Wasting that much money.
Yeah, that's it. That's
You're
the only
so
thing.
rich.
My whole clientele is just dudes with like fucking monocles and like little cups of caviar. Like
The Monopoly guy.
Mr. Monopoly, man.
Does that guy have a name?
His name is Mr. Monopoly.
Oh.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a first name?
That's a good question. Type that into Google. We'll find out. Along with fucking Marfa Texas. Wait, you didn't even say what that was weird about that town. Oh, hold on. We're going to listen to some Lazerhawk, but we're going to move forward in time, and then we'll get back to that. This is the album Visitors from 2012. This album's awesome. This was one of the first 5 synthwave albums I bought when I first discovered the scene. So this is a cool track. This is Visitors by Lazerhawk. And that was Visitors by Lazerhawk from the Visitors album. And I'm talking to Lazerhawk right now. So what I dig about you, man, is that every time you put out something, you kind of tweak your sound a bit. Like, you haven't really released anything yet that's sort of like, hey, that just like sounds like the last album, which would be fine because all the stuff you make is great. But this was definitely your take on sort of more like spacey kind of synth stuff, even disco-y in places. What was sort of inspiring that sound in you?
Oh man, there's a really terrible story behind it. Really.
I love terrible stories.
So, were you eating apples again?
Yeah.
You son of a bitch. Tempting me with those delicious apple sounds.
I'm eating apples, and I just realized that if, for people who don't know I'm eating apples, I'm just going to sound like I just got brain damage all of a sudden, because you're like, I like terrible stories, and I come in, I'm just like, well, I like terrible stories.
So, Visitors, I was done with Redline, and like, whenever I do an album, I kind of feel like I have an idea what I'm going to do. Redline was like, hey, 80s stuff, neon stuff, Miami Vice, you know, supercars from the 80s. Got your Ferrari Testarossa, got your Lamborghinis, right?
I like this
all
list.
the cool stuff from the 80s, right? And then I was done, and when I'm doing that, I make a bunch of tracks that are based around some sort of idea until I'm just like, I don't think I could make another one of those tracks again. I don't even know what it would sound like, so I need to come up with a new idea, and hopefully by that point I have enough music to release an album.
Sure.
And I saw this video on YouTube, and it was like, I can't remember where, somewhere in Europe, where it was a missile test, right?
Okay.
And I think it was like Norway, maybe. And this guy's like filming this thing that's happening, and it's a missile, and something's wrong with it, and it goes up into the air. You don't get to see that part of it. All you see is like he starts recording a missile that's basically just spiraling out of control. I don't know if this is like the fuel or the contrail or whatever the hell that is that comes out of missiles, missile dust, right?
Missile dust.
It's
that's
creating
cool.
this giant like vortex of like just a different color on the night sky, and it looks like this thing is like opening up, right? And it's sort of like this weird spiral that's coming down from the sky, and then like the missile runs out of fuel, and the whole thing like just dissipates into like this big like black circle. And I was like, okay, well, that's like creepy UFO stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm gonna make Visitors. That's it. The first track that I made after watching that video was Visitors.
Definitely, like, there's that theme running through the whole album, right? Like, you got those kind of sort of like radio signal like interstitials that happen periodically through it. So
I mean, it turned into a different idea, but that was like what started the whole space theme.
Right.
Creepy, weird missile test gone wrong video.
Yeah, see, I usually just watch cat videos, but then
That works.
for some reason, all the stuff, you know, like when you're on YouTube and they tell you, like, you might like this,
Right.
at the side, they keep pawning videos off of me that I'm just like, is someone paying, like, for those videos to be there? They must be, right? Because, like, half the time, I can be watching anything and it'll be conspiracy shit on the side. And I'm like, I didn't ask for that, but it's just there.
A lot of the times it's like, you might like this Lazerhawk video.
Oh, for you?
Yeah. I'm like, well, probably not. Not necessarily. I mean, I've heard that one before.
So talk about, these are my great fucking segues here. Well, you still have your fucking MySpace page, don't you?
I guess. I mean, do those things go away ever? I thought MySpace was like dead, and then like it tried to like come back as a music site, right, for bands. And then they were like, oh, hey, we kind of moved on, MySpace. Like, you aren't a thing anymore. And so there's probably some guy like trying to like figure out how to make a profit from MySpace still.
Well, because the pages are still up, and I do recall people saying, like, I feel like in the last few years, like that, like there's this idea that MySpace is still like a cool place for creators to be, but I don't know anyone who actively does anything with their MySpace page.
I don't either. You've got to follow, you know, the popular site to go to. Like, I left MySpace and basically went to SoundCloud. Mm-hmm. I think SoundCloud is just like more of what I wanted anyway.
Sure.
Because MySpace was just It got to the point where you like could not like use MySpace. No one could use MySpace because it was being like spammed constantly.
Right.
I really eventually just wanted, people to find my music somewhere on the internet. So
Yeah.
SoundCloud works for me.
Works for me, man.
SoundCloud, it works for me.
Although everyone's always mad at SoundCloud all the time.
That one's for free, SoundCloud.
Yeah. Well,
This is Lazerhawk.
Yeah.
SoundCloud, it works for me.
let's listen to some more music.
Radio voice.
This is. Or we can
It's
just
kind
keep.
of creepy too.
We can keep doing that.
It could be like my rich guy creepy voice too. I look through paintings in the women's restroom. Let's listen to some Lazerhawk right now.
Well, I'll do one of those paintings where like there's a slide for my eyes, but there's also like a slide for my wiener.
So wait. What does the painting look like when your wiener is not slid through it?
Well, that's
though.
That's the joke. If it's a proper painting of like Napoleon or something, and then like with the eye holes, but then like he's got pants, but
It's
then
like
when you
his horse.
but then when you slide the pants away, it slides like a whole section that's like the shape of like boxer briefs. So like it's not just the dink through the hole, like it's like the whole sort of
Oh.
like waist part of the leg, like above the knee.
I have a feeling somebody's gonna notice this. It's way more obvious than the eyes thing.
That's the joke.
Oh,
Anyway, that's a
That was
terrible
deep.
segue to your track Disco Planet, which is my favorite track on the album. Actually,
funny enough, it happens to be about creepy paintings.
sweet. Well, then it all worked out. I just said that in haste because I also really do love the track Arrival, but we're going to listen to Disco Planet right now by Lazerhawk. And that was Disco Planet by Lazerhawk, and I'm here with Lazerhawk right now. That track is a lot of fun. I like that one.
Yeah, I like that one too.
It makes me happy, man. That's very, yeah.
Listening to your own tracks a lot, you sort of like figure out like which tracks you actually like or not. Because I think I like all of them when I make them originally. I'm like, yeah, this is good stuff. Mm-hmm. And then after like the 50th time, I'm just like, this is dog shit. God. But I still like that one, so it must be alright.
Yeah, and it's a cool track, man. It's a lot of fun. Hold on, I got this fucking window open here. I'm trying to sell my old PlayStation 3, and I don't think anybody wants it. This is...
Not much, man. I might be interested.
You want to use PlayStation Slim?
No, not really. I haven't had a console in years.
No, I still do all that. I mean, I've got a PS4. Like, our PS3 for the past, 3 years has been a Netflix machine.
Nice.
And my first one died. See, 'cause that's the thing. Everyone always had that huge thing about the Xbox ring of death and soldering wires to shit and stuff. And PlayStation 3s died a lot, too. I think everybody I know with the PlayStation 3s, theirs also died, but it was sort of less of a scandal than the Xbox ring of death.
So there's some, clever propaganda created by Sony or something?
Yeah, I mean, they had their own problems. There was when Sony got hacked was a thing.
Don't pay attention to our problems. It's all Xbox's fault.
Why, did you ever have an Xbox? Or?
I did, and it did die on me. And I did buy some sort of kit. You had to take it apart and put it back together with some new part that they added to it, and then it worked, and then it died again, and then I got another one, and it died. And then I think I even got a third one. I don't think I even used it. It was in the box. I may have given it away. It may be in my house somewhere. I'm not sure.
It was just there for spite?
Yeah, just staring at me.
So you haven't, you don't console game anymore? Are you an old man? What's happened?
I got old, man. Those console games are too complicated. Kids these days, Andy. No, I just, so another reason I started doing music because I was way into console gaming and gaming in general.
Sure.
And I was like, I'm wasting my life, man. I gotta stop this console gaming. No, but I was way into WoW.
Sure.
And that's not something that you ever want to have happen.
Yeah, no, I understand.
But not as bad as it could be. It's not so much an addiction that I forgot about my kid and just sat in a chair for a week or something.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Covered in pizza boxes and feces.
Yeah. I love the idea of being covered in shit, because that implies then that you didn't just shit your pants, that you had to actually smear it on yourself just to show the world that you're just such an animal.
It just piles up around you.
I never got into too many online things. I do play a lot of games.
That's the worst.
Now my son hogs the system most of the time, but I got a Nintendo Switch, and so I've been playing a lot of Zelda.
I got a chance to play that.
It's good, man. It's a good game.
I liked it, yeah.
No, it's really good. What I love is, again, Nintendo has this thing where they can simplify stuff down to the core gameplay elements. So even though I've played obviously other open world games, and pretty much everything I play now is an open world game, but Nintendo found a way to take all those elements, so it's not like I'm doing anything new. I'm crafting items and fighting and all, and leveling up my guy, but it's simplified to the point where you just play the game. You're not really spending too much time in menus and grids and looking at your stats. You just play it. Mm-hmm. So it's just a really great game.
Yeah.
A lot of the other games I play, I find myself, I'm just in the menu a lot of the time, just adjusting statistics and stuff.
And you're hey, I gotta go look up the best build for this character class.
Yeah, it's stuff like
so
that.
I invest my points correctly.
Yeah.
Whatever. Just God, man, I'm just gonna sit down and enjoy this game and actually enjoy this game.
This has been the first game, I think, in years that I've played that I've not been compelled to go on the internet for answers.
Okay, yeah.
So far, the amount of hours I've put into this Zelda game, I've not once, gone on and been how do you defeat this boss, or how do you do this puzzle? For some reason, the game is just, it's compelling me to just figure it out for myself, and it's been years since I've done that.
Yeah.
It could also be the guilt of buying a $500 system just for one game, that maybe subconsciously I'm tricking myself into making sure I get the most out of it, but I don't think that's the case.
That was $500?
Canadian dollars. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I knew that was. That's like that's what the silence is. Like, what the fuck?
$500. You truly are rich.
Yeah. No, I'm truly not rich.
You're like, this console cost me a month's worth of food rations.
I've always lived below my means, and I always live as though I don't have any money. So I am always selling things on like Craigslist. We have another website up here called Kijiji that's like Craigslist.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like anytime I'm done with something, I'm selling it. Sometimes I'll sell things I'm not even quite done with because I just know in my heart that I'm going to be done with them.
That's good. I have a ton of crap that's like, it probably was worth something at some point, and then I didn't sell it.
Yeah, man, that's the...
Sort of like the PlayStation 3.
Exactly, because right now I'm trying to sell this PlayStation 3, and I'm going to be lucky if I get like $40 for
like,
it.
Hey, I'll come pick it up, but I want like $20 for gas.
Yeah, they're going to make me pay. Eventually it's going to be like,
Yeah.
I'll grab it from you, but you know...
It's going to cost you, Andy.
Yeah, it is going to cost me. Which is too bad. I mean, like, so there's a point, there's a cutoff where I'm like, well, I might as well just keep it as a Netflix machine, but you know how it is, reselling items.
That goes against your principles of selling items.
I know. Well, because that's the thing. This awoke in me maybe a few years ago, because before then, I liked the idea of having like a video game collection. And then there was just a point where I'm like, why am I doing this? Like, I mean, I prefer to play GoldenEye with an emulator. I don't need an N64 around. I don't need PlayStation 3 games.
Right.
I'm not going to play them, you know? It's nice to look at, I guess, if you like looking at boxes.
Plus, it's like, I don't know, I was really into the like MAME arcade machine that I built.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, there's so many old games that I used to play in arcades. It's going to be awesome. And then I like played through them, and I was like, I don't ever want to play that again.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk about
like,
more of that, because I know...
It's like 10 games maybe that I have like in a save menu, and that's it.
Well, definitely that's something I want to talk to you about anyways, because that's... the arcade thing is... I have like an arcade stick or whatever. I don't have a machine.
Yeah.
I mean, it's cool. I didn't go all out. I mean, obviously you went further because you have an actual fucking machine. Well, hold on. We're going to listen to a track and then we're going to talk about it. Because I know pinball and arcade machines, pinball more so, is a big part of your life. And we got to talk about that.
Sounds good.
Right? Because you're an award winner.
I am. I'm like a trophy and a cash taker in.
I know you're very uninterested in this, but we're going to talk about it anyway because it's exciting because you're good at it, right? It's cool to talk to someone who's actually good at something.
Oh, it's something that I really enjoy, for sure.
So we're gonna listen to a track first. This was an epic track which I really dug, called Arrival off the Visitors album. And that was Arrival by Lazerhawk off the Visitors album. That is an epic track. It's got a wicked build-up there. I like that build-up.
Thank you.
And then when it all kicks in, that's really cool. So, let's talk about pinball. When did the pinball start? The fascination?
So the video craze, Dave Danzara, came to me and he was like, so I'm going to do this documentary. It's going to be about these people that collect like classic arcade games, and they have their own arcades in their house. And I was like, that's cool. And then it sort of dawned on me that like, oh wait, I could do that myself. I have money. I have a house. What am I waiting for? So I went out on Craigslist and got a Street Fighter 2, and I was like, okay, this is awesome. Street Fighter 2 is one of my favorite games. I played it. It had a sound problem, so I tried to fix it. I broke it.
Nice.
So maybe not the best idea, but it was a good effort, A for effort. And then I was like, okay, well, I could get another board that doesn't have this problem, or I could throw a computer in it and have, all the Street Fighters and hundreds of games or whatever.
Sure.
So I put a lot of time into that, and that was when I was like, okay, I've got, hundreds of games to play, and I don't really care for playing any of them. But at the same time, I had this thing in my mind, like, this is going to be a cool game room. I'm going to enjoy it, and my wife's going to enjoy it. And I was like, wait a minute. I don't think she really gives two shits about arcade games. So
you've literally described exactly what I want to do, by the way, and I know it's going to play out exactly the same.
For some reason, I was like, I think that she would like pinball more than arcades, and it's kind of cool. Like, I was not into pinball at all. My uncle had a machine in his apartment. I played when I was younger, and that's really all I knew about it. And I just thought, like, she would like that more. This is a totally stupid idea, but that's the reason why I got it.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, it's broken, I have to figure out how to fix it, and I did, and I was like, I'm the man now.
You're all the man now, dog.
Now I've got to play this thing. I've invested all this time in fixing this thing. I got to play it.
Yeah.
So I started playing it, and it was like, there was so much more than I remembered, because it had like rules and jackpots and multi-balls, and just there's ways to play it that are better than others. There's like techniques that you can use that you can learn to get better at. So it was like, and it's also like really random at times. So I was just like, this is fun. I like this. And I just stopped playing the arcade game like altogether. And it's in the garage. It hasn't been plugged in like years.
Can you explain something to me? I mean, I was researching people who build arcade machines, and I was always curious about the idea. It might still be a project I do myself down the line to build a machine, but like with an LCD screen, like I wouldn't actually get an old arcade unit. What is a joust machine? Like, I don't understand. I see that word where people be like, oh, it's a joust machine.
Well, like the Joust arcade game, right?
Right.
So the one that I have, it was the Street Fighter 2, but when they used to like operate arcade machines in the mall or whatever, you would buy like a game, and maybe it's a Pac-Man, maybe it's a Joust.
Sure.
And then eventually it's like, oh, it's been a couple years, nobody's really putting money into this Joust game anymore, so I'm gonna turn it into something else. So they would put maybe a different Williams board in it, or
sure, right.
Capcom board in it. So mine, I know for sure, was a Tetris at some point, because it has like super terrible like Tetris, like the start screen like burned into it like permanently. No. So it was a Tetris at some point, and then it was a Street Fighter 2, and then I bought it, and then I was like, I'm gonna like do this thing up right, because it's gonna go in my super cool game room. And I started like sanding the sides off, because it was just painted black, and it was like, oh wait, there's something under here, and it was like the original Joust paint.
Right.
So I re-stenciled it with Joust. Now it's the Joust-cade.
Right, because that's so weird, because I've seen... I mean, I remember, I think I saw you talk about it, but I've also seen it referenced before in other people, so I had this weird idea that, like, there was something different about a Joust for some reason. Like, I didn't know it was just as simple as that was just the game, that it was the original case or what was originally in there. Like, for some reason, I was like, did they put the buttons in a different place on a Joust machine or something? But
I think the Joust joysticks are left and right only, right? So they're like two-way maybe. You like push the button to like make your little ostrich or whatever the hell that thing is like fly, right? And then you've got left or right, and that's it. And that's like those are the control panel layout. So by the time I got mine, it was like somebody had already like, you know, got rid of all that crap and put, you know, 6 buttons and a joystick for Street Fighter.
Right, okay, yeah. Have you ever been on the website that shows people who's like their fails at doing their own home arcade machines?
No.
It is the funniest fucking thing you'll ever see, man. Like, just the most bizarre button placement.
There's like, I'm so proud of this thing.
Oh, they're amazing. Like, as a guy who's like, I'm a layman to the idea of building an arcade machine, and I know if I tried it would be terrible, but these people have built these things that are just hilarious to look at, like just weird buttons all over the place, and like, no, it's just so fucking funny.
Oh yeah.
I was just reminded of this because just from the album Visitors, the track Shoulder of Orion,
right?
It reminds me of, there was this cartoon, I think in the 80s, called Pole Position.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about too. And I found out about Pole Position and that song, like, I don't know if it was after or before. And like at this point, like the album's out, and I'm like, oh hey, ActRaiser, Miami Nights. Do you think that sounds like that? And he's like, yes, dude. Like, it's too late, man. Fuck.
But it's not the whole track. Like, it's just literally this like, I mean, like, that's not a thing that, you know, if you had like a line come in, we're just like, pole position.
Yeah. Headline. That's totally different, man. It says red line, not pole position.
Yeah, it's funny when that happens. I mean, like, because I've played some tracks on the show by different artists, and sometimes I'll see like the comments after the episode's posted and be like, oh, someone really likes Turbo Killer or something, and then like I didn't even hear it, and then the second someone makes the comment, and I'll listen like, oh wow, this is like like this.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who sort of aped Kavinsky's Night Call track.
Right.
I've heard a bunch of synthwave artists that do songs that's less like, this kind of sounds like Night Call, like
right.
down to, you know, the tempo and everything. And
no one's gonna admit to that for sure.
No.
I don't know, like everyone's got like a total hate on for Kavinsky. It's weird. You go into a forum, it's like, fuck Kavinsky, man. Like, what's wrong with that guy? He's cool. Why?
That's the thing. I mean, especially with the synthwave scene, where, you know, you don't have to be that big to be big, you know, like the more popular. So, I mean, like, you're one of those people now, you know, you've been for a while, you and Miami Nights and Perturbator and those people who, you know, where there's this goodwill at the start for people who start, and then when they become like too more popular, now you, like Lazerhawk, are one of the people who people will like tag in a post with criticisms about like the album and stuff.
It's all good.
I don't know what people are expecting or their expectations, but like I said before with your stuff, I love that every time you come up with a new album, it's a different sound, and it's always really well produced, awesome music. It makes me happy. But there's always people who are just like, oh, it doesn't sound like the last one, and like, okay,
right?
Like, what are you supposed to, you can't fucking, you know. My point is that, you know, artists who have less of a following, they sort of fall under the radar, but you sort of know you've made it when you can be openly critiqued, I'll say.
Oh yeah. That's a good point. I don't care.
Yeah.
The criticism is totally lost on me. I will actually do whatever I want, no matter what anyone says. So thank you, Jack Williams 1911 underscore.
We're gonna move forward in time.
Forward.
That's right.
Okay.
To Skull and Shark.
Right.
And this was a cool fucking album. We're gonna listen to this track because it was cool. It's called Lawless by Lazerhawk. And that was Lawless by Lazerhawk from Skull and Shark. And I love that bass line. Again, just as we're going into the track, talking about sort of switching styles up. And this one was kind of more of a, kind of almost like a horror album in places. There was like some dark stuff going on and these cool, it was just a cool album. I like it. I don't know.
Yeah, it's based on the, Skull and Shark comic book that's coming out like any day now. That's not going to happen. I mean, I think it's gonna happen. It is gonna happen, but I don't know when. Dave Raposa is the artist. So it started out where he's like, "Hey man, like I got this comic book idea, and I want to do sort of like a promo thing. Can you make just like one track for it, just for this promo video on YouTube, whatever?" And I was like, "Well, let me see the artwork." And I was like, "This is awesome." Super good artwork, right? And it's dark and it's gruesome. And I was like, if you're gonna do a comic book, I want to do an entire album to it, not just one. And like, he was really good at just kicking ideas back and forth, and I'd make tracks and be like, is this something along the lines of what we're looking at? And it sort of fit into what I was working on already, so it was just perfect. Like, he'd fire off tracks that he liked, and it'd be like something crazy like Wasp or some 80s hair band. And it's like, okay, we'll figure it out. It inspired me to do whatever I did for Skull and Shark. And some of those tracks are based on like themes in the comic book, storylines from the comic book.
So I don't know much about the comic book. Like, what is the premise?
There's a guy, and he's like a skeleton, and he has hair, sorta, and ears, I think. And like, he comes back to the city where he was murdered or something, and he has a partner who's kind of like a half shark, half man, half like great white shark.
Sure.
So I mean, that doesn't make any sense at all.
Well, it makes sense to me. It's very literal. When you hear a title like Skull and Shark, it's almost like maybe it's like,
it's like
a metaphor for something else.
Skull
but like,
and a shark.
Literal skull and a literal shark, man.
Stuff in this city. It's got like a Warriors, like the old 70s Warriors movie vibe to it. So like the city's like made up of different gangs, and some of the like songs, like there's like a Chinatown song, and there's a Chinatown in the comic book, and everyone gathers to fight the big boss guy at the end, and it's gonna be good. And he was working on it, and I think he wanted to finish it, but he had so many other commitments that he couldn't. He is self-employed. He was a concept artist, and it's like, I can work on my own stuff, or I can get paid like thousands of dollars to do a drawing.
Right.
So he worked on his Steve Lichman comic book, which he made a killing on Kickstarter, and I think the plan is now to like use that capital to invest in Skull and Shark. At least like be able to spend the time without worrying about money.
Right, yeah.
I think it's gonna be awesome when it comes out.
Well, that's cool. It'll like breathe some new life into the album sales.
Yeah, and I have like a B-side album in the wings that I want to release with the comic book, because originally it was like, he's gonna work on the comic book, he's gonna finish the comic book, I'm gonna work on the album. The album's done. When's the comic book gonna be ready? It's been a while since I released an album. Kind of have to release the album, sorry.
Right.
And it is a good idea, because there's no comic book. But there will be a B-side album at some point, and vinyl, hopefully.
Well, that'd be cool.
Are you into the vinyl thing?
I was never really, I don't now, but just because I don't have space to fucking put stuff. I just listen to MP3s. I don't even listen to FLAC.
Yeah.
I just like high quality MP3s. But vinyls are neat.
That's pretty much where I am too. It's just too much of a hassle. There's like machinery involved, and yeah.
Machines.
Yeah, machines. What are you gonna do?
Before you couched your arcade machine, what were your favorite games to play?
My favorite arcade is Robotron. It's like a simple. It's like 4 probably, or something like that. Are you familiar with Robotron?
Have I played? To be honest with you, I almost exclusively play brawlers.
Okay.
Like when I'm going through the list.
About this? Have you played Smash TV?
Yes, yeah.
Right, so it's like the Robotron is the precursor to Smash TV.
Oh, okay.
And whatever, like Total Carnage or something like that they made after.
Yep, that sounds correct.
Yeah. But Robotron is just like one of those like old, brutally difficult games that for some reason I just can play over and over and over again. I don't get sick of it. Like with the brawlers, like I think they're fun, right? Like Final Fight is fun. But see, this is going back to the main thing. It was like when I was a kid, I had like X amount of quarters that I had to play with. And then when you were done, that's it. Now it's like I just push the start button, add some more quarters, play forever, beat this game, and you're just like, well, I could, I guess, play this for how many times I died or score or something.
Yeah.
But I'm just not interested in that.
For me, it's simply the social activity. Like I found, when I was younger, video games was the way I socialized with my buddies. Like when different generations would be like hey, let's go for coffee or whatever. For me, it was like, let's play GoldenEye.
Oh yeah.
And we'd sit on the couch, and that's when we would chat and play GoldenEye and stuff. So this is the same with me with the arcade games. Is I love the brawlers, and especially now, like I don't like my fucking arcade controller's on the shelf right now. But if I like go home, see old buddies from back home, you have a beer and you can get through a brawler in usually about 35-40 minutes. Like they don't take long to beat. So I find it's the perfect way to like play a video game with a buddy, have beers, and feel like you accomplished something, because you will win the game because you have unlimited quarters.
Right.
Except for this one fucking game called what the fuck was it called? It was Narc something, not the original like the Narc game. It was, or something Cops. Whenever you press start, it goes like "Esu cops, Esu cops," and like. It was a brawler, but at the end of the game, the boss made you make a choice where you had to answer a question, and then if you did it wrong, you died. Like it was like game over, and you like fell out of a plane or something.
What kind of questions are we talking about? Like, just one? Like, how many like answers are we talking about too?
Well, it was a weird, because I remember in Streets of Rage, there was a boss. I remember you got to the last boss at the end, and he asked you a question. If you answered no, like they'd send you back to level 6. But this was a weirder situation. It was like game over. Like if you didn't do this thing in time, it was either a question or you had to defuse a bomb by punching it, I imagine. And if you failed, then it was just like the game was done. And what the fuck was that game called? Jesus, because it was just, all I remember is the "Esu cops" every time some arcade games, like it makes a sound whenever you put a quarter in.
Right.
So like there's those really annoying ones where like when you have unlimited quarters and you can keep mashing the quarter button on the controller, and it's just like, yeah, and like just over and over again.
Exactly. There's some good sounds though.
There's a cool track called Massacre on this album. It's a great track. It's got some horror elements there, but it kind of weaves in a nice melody, and we're going to listen to it right now.
Let's do it.
And that was Massacre by Lazerhawk, and I'm here with Lazerhawk right now. Tell me about the trophies.
Oh, the trophies.
You didn't post a picture of the new one, right? You've won actual like pinball tournaments because of your skill at pinball.
Yeah.
The other day, you sent me a link to this live stream of this pinball tournament you were in, and I actually watched it for a bit. It was literally like, I don't know why I was watching it.
A lot of people don't get it, but if you go onto like Twitch, you'll like watch some guy playing like a single player game, and there's like several thousand people watching it on that. I'm just like, I don't understand that either.
My son watches Minecraft videos.
Right.
This is when I feel like an old man. I know I've got gray hair and stuff.
He's building a mansion.
That's the one thing I do not understand. Like, I watch game videos if the game's not out yet. Like, if I'm watching trailers or like, you know, oh, that game looks cool. Oh, that's a neat feature. But the second the game comes out, why the fuck would I like, watching people play video games is the worst part of video games. Like that. So now there's this whole generation of kids who just watch unfunny people do walkthroughs and like act like they're funny, and like he's laughing at it, so I'm like, oh no, like is this gonna fuck up his sense of humor? Like he's gonna grow up and think it's funny to like not say funny
asshole.
Yeah, he's just like, because it doesn't take much to impress some people, I guess, because I've watched a few, just, you know, like you have to, because everyone was like, oh, PewDiePie, and you go like, what the fuck is this? Like, why do people say this dumb word? I hate that word.
Right.
And then you go on YouTube and find out what it is, and like, oh, it's what? Like, really?
That
like,
guy's making a living off of people watching him play games.
I don't get it. I fucking don't get it at all. But anyways, so I was watching.
Like, there's that, and then there's like, if you say the same thing about pinball, like there's a really small percentage of people that are like, yeah, I'm totally on board with that, you know? I want to watch people play pinball. Most people are like, what the fuck is pinball? And didn't that like die some time ago? You know, do people actually play that still? Yeah, to me it seems more like, I don't know, like a bar game, like darts or something, or bowling, or something that's like a non-physical game that people play for cash on ESPN or something. Like poker or something, you know what I mean? It's more than a video game, but that's kind of like its downfall too, because it's a thing that breaks and then somebody has to fix it, and a lot of times people don't. And that's pretty much what killed it for me when I was a kid, because it's like, hey, what's this thing? I'm gonna put money in it, and like, what, shit doesn't even work right, like, and when you don't even know it's not working right, you're just like, this sucks.
Right.
So people walk up and the thing's broken, it's not maintained, and that's what gives pinball like a bad reputation. It's hard to be someone that's like, hey, I'm gonna run a barcade or whatever, I'm gonna have pinball in it. It takes a certain kind of like sadistic person, masochist or something.
So when you guys are doing the tournaments, then, like, are there machines like breaking all over the place?
Oh yeah.
So how does that work? Like, what if you're like having a great game, but then all of a sudden like the fucking legs fall off?
It's happened to me. There's rulings if like something doesn't,
like a judge comes out, like there's a flag.
Yeah,
and shit?
there's a tournament director usually that will come over and make a ruling. Like if the game just cannot be played anymore, then that game might be cut completely from the qualifying if it's been less than half of the time allotted for qualifying.
Is that to prevent people from, like, you're having a really shitty pinball game and then you, when no one's looking, you like sweep kick one of the legs and like break something off and be like, oh, it broke, I guess I get to start again?
That's pretty impossible, and you'd have to be an enormous dick to pull that off, and you'd have to be like Jean-Claude Van Damme or something to pull that off too. Those things are sturdy, man. There's something called a death save, and like we have a group of guys in Austin, and we call it the Death Save Disciples.
Do you have robes?
We don't, but we have shirts. It's pretty sad. Anyways, so if a ball is like draining down the right out lane on a lot of tables, you can do this move called the Death Save, and it involves like moving the entire machine to the left and then to the right. So you're putting a lot of action on this game that like the designers did not intend for you to do, and they just take a beating.
I thought pinball machines don't like that though. Don't they go tilt? And then
there is a tilt, so you can tilt doing this, but a lot of times, you know, games on locations, the tilts may not even be installed. The tilt is a physical thing. It's like a pendulum.
Okay.
With a ring around it. So when the pendulum touches the ring, the game is either going to tilt or give you a danger that it's going to tilt if you keep doing that.
Do they make modern ones that have like gyroscopes in there?
They don't. I mean, someone might, but people that manufacture them are still using the classic tilt mechanism.
Do you practice?
That's something that I've thought about. That. Do I practice?
Yeah, like how does that work?
Oh,
you go into these tournaments, like you're at home, is it just that you play pinball all the time, or do you actually like know when you're about to go to a tournament to be like, I'm gonna beef up on draining balls?
Oh yeah, don't beef up on draining balls, whatever you do. 'Cause I feel like that's probably the bad strategy. No, like every game, it's got sort of maybe the ideal way to play it. And when you play tournaments, you like talk to other people that are playing in the tournament and like say like, hey man, like did this work for you or whatever? And maybe they tell you, or maybe they're an asshole and they don't tell you.
Hold on. So there are specific games in play. Like, so when you go to the tournament, do you specifically go there and go all weekend, I'm just going to play Addams Family and that's my skill?
So in this last tournament, there was 12 games. And there was 4 newer games, 4 games from like the mid 80s to early 90s, and 4 games from like 1978-ish and later, right? But those 12 games are going to be there for the entire tournament. So you're going to play them during qualifying, and you're going to play them during the finals. So if you can figure out online like the best way to play this game is to do this, then you're going to increase your chances of playing or getting a higher score.
What does that mean? Like if someone says, I'm going to play Addams Family, what's the best way to play? Like, what does that mean? Like, are the tips like always hit the ball to the left-hand corner because that's where the most points are?
It might be like play for mansion rooms. It might be play for multi-ball. It might be play for bear kicks. Because, you know, like during a tournament, they might see something like going for mansion rooms is an easy strategy.
Right.
And then they'll put like larger rubber posts that the game didn't come with around that shot to make that shot maybe impossible or at least extremely difficult to force the player to do something else.
And that's fine?
Yeah, because like you're gonna play it as is. When the tournament starts, the game is not gonna change, right? Unless there's like something breaks. So if they want to nerf this scoop and make it harder to shoot, then that's the way it is. You just gotta play it.
You gotta nerf this scoop.
Find a different way to get points and do that instead.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. But at the end of the day, to win the tournament just is about points.
It's about, getting more points than someone else.
And there's no stipulation of like, well, he got 600,000 points, but he was playing this particular one the whole time. Do they cycle you on different ones?
So, yeah, during the qualifying, you got your, like, however many games, and there's different ways that tournaments are run, but one of the most popular one is like called Herb style, and I really don't understand why it's called Herb, but it's also called Pump and Dump. So you go up to a game, you pay money to play it, your score gets recorded, and it's put against everyone else's score. If you have the highest score out of everyone that's played that game, then you will get 100 points.
Okay.
And then if you have 100 on every game, you're going to be the top qualifier. So like during the finals, it's like a bracket system, right? And you're beating the other players that are in your group. And usually the person that wins the game, you play 3 games. The person that wins the game gets 4 points. And then second is 2 points, third 1 point, fourth 0. And after 3 games, it's the 2 highest scores move on to the next round.
Well, that's cool. It's a very interesting world.
It's different. And like, so there's a tournament in Pittsburgh called Pinburgh. That's pretty much how I learned to play so many games, because there's like 300 games. And you don't know which game you're going to play. And you don't know who you're going to play against. It's totally random. So you're really only going to play like a handful of these 300 games. You know, when we started going to that tournament, it was like, I have to know how to play 300 games. We went through and did research on like hundreds and hundreds of games, made a cheat book that we brought
awesome.
with us, and we're like, okay, I'm playing whatever this game is, and this is how you beat it, and hopefully that works.
I just love when there's these little worlds and then there's all this thought and all this strategy that goes into like these very specific things. Like I love the idea of a pinball cheat book.
Yep, it's called the Pin Necronomicon too. Because we gotta like nerd it up a little.
Yeah, man.
It's pinball after all.
Well, listen, we've been talking for a long time, but I do want to touch on your latest album for a little bit anyways, because I really enjoyed it. Dream Rider by Lazerhawk, which is a fucking cool album. You went for sort of like kind of a mellower sound with this one, but there's some really nice tracks on here. And we're going to listen to a cool song right now. This is Somnus. And that was Somnus by Lazerhawk. And that's a cool track. This whole album had like a neat vibe to it. I dig it. What inspired the vibe of this one?
If you go back to Redline, I had a lot of like fast-paced tracks, and then Interstellar, right? That was sort of thrown in. It was kind of like a lower tempo, or more of a laid-back vibe. And then I did the same thing on Visitors with like So Far Away. To some extent, I did it on Skull and Shark. And then I had the Cool Breeze idea that was floating around on YouTube. So I just had it in my mind that I wanted to have like an entire album of tracks that were like that, and just put them all into one place, and it was something I was interested in doing, and I did it. Even though Jack Williams _1911 doesn't like it. Sorry, Jack Williams.
Is that an actual guy?
No, it's sad because there is a guy named Jack Williams that was like emailing me recently, and I just happened to like use his name as a random like YouTube user. I'm sorry, Jack Williams. He likes it though. The real Jack Williams loves it.
Yeah.
Just Jack Williams _1911.
Well, he sounds like a cool guy.
Jack Williams, the real Jack Williams?
Yeah.
Jack Williams, the real Jack Williams is amazing.
Yeah, he sounds cool to me, man. I don't know if we actually really talked about it. I mean, obviously we mentioned like when you met Mr. Glover, Miami Nights 1984, but like what was the decision? Who prompted the idea of forming the Rosso Corsa collective?
I don't know. I think that we both saw like Valerie and like College and their collective, and then they had like the Masters of the Universe guy that was getting sued, had like a compilation, you know. So we were like, let's, you know, like I know you, you know me, we know Mitch Murder, and like 80 Stallone's cool, we'll get him on board, grab a couple of more guys, and we're like, oh, let's just put out a compilation album. That was my idea. Mike was like, hey, let's turn this into something more, let's turn it into a label. And I was like, that's a terrible idea, man, are you crazy? Ain't nobody got time for that, are you crazy? But it turned out awesome.
So what's the delineation of tasks then for you guys?
So he has set up Rosso Corsa in Canada as an official business entity, and I've not, because I'm pretty lazy like that. Yeah. So I do like most of like bookkeeping stuff, which I'm also lazy with. Sorry, Mitch, and sorry, Lost Years. Your money is like in the electronic mail, maybe.
Just send it to me.
But really, we just wanted like one place to say like, hey, we like what you're doing, come on board. We've got some notoriety, like hopefully that makes more people attracted to your music.
Right.
And then we've also got a guy that does like our publishing deals. His name's Richard Owen. He is the man. Like, he's the guy that you don't have at your label.
Yeah.
He's the reason. Because, like, all right, I have music. If somebody comes to me and they're like, hey, man, like, I'll give you like $100 if you let me use that in my Pepsi commercial, I'd be like, oh, that's great. That's like $100 I didn't have before. But Rich is like, no, that's going to cost you like $50,000. Yeah. And they're like, Pepsi. What the hell? Are you fucking out of your mind? And they're like, well, what about like 10? And he's like, yeah. You just got played by Rich Owen, son.
So how does the system work then when you guys do sign new people to the label? Is there like a process of voting? Like, do you all have to unanimously be like, yes, we all agree to this artist?
Yeah. Unless Mike's like, dude, this is happening. I'm like, all right, sure, I guess so. But at least he like said like, hey, this is happening before he just does it.
Sure. Yeah.
It's not like I'm just surprised one day. But yeah, most of the time we do talk about it and discuss it in length in a really professional way.
That's cool. You guys all seem very professional.
That's one of the hallmarks of Rosso Corsa. We put the pro in professional.
You all go to the meeting there with like a suit and tie, like attend a Skype meeting, but you all dress up for it?
No, it's more just like, hey man, what are you doing? Hey, what's up? Hey, I'm thinking about this guy for the label. Cool. I'll listen to it someday. Yeah.
But basically then it's the three of you that are in on that decision. Is there like another person, or is that pretty much?
No, that's pretty much it, yeah.
Well, that's cool, man. I mean, it is one of the more prestigious or prestigious? Do you say prestigious or prestigious over there?
I say both, you know, depending on my mood.
Yeah, I'm like that with Mario and Mario. Depending on the context, I'll say either one.
Like if you're talking about Nintendo, you're probably gonna say Mario.
It depends.
Really?
It depends on the sometimes I say I'll say Mario Kart, but I might say Super Mario World. Like it's a free-for-all up here, motherfucker.
Yeah, it's like AC/DC goes both ways.
Yeah, man. Just like me, I go both ways. It's a bisexual joke. That's I'm a really clever guy.
It's back to that freaky rich guy.
Yeah, I never told you. I never told you whose bathroom that painting was in. The men's bathroom.
And I'll never know.
Yeah, no, I just told you. Well, listen, we can probably wrap this up.
It's not mine, right?
If it was, we would have done this interview sooner because I just would have posted audio of here's Lazerhawk taking his shit. See, I told you, he's on the show. Got him. I got that interview all wanted to hear. So let's listen to another track from Dream Rider, and then we'll wrap this up because we've been talking for a long time. This will be a super length episode, man.
Awesome.
I'm not going to do a two-parter for this one.
I think I'm doing all right for 5 hours or less of sleep. You know.
Hey, I'm right there with you, dude.
I can do this.
I go to bed. It's 2 a.m, and then my son's alarm clock goes off at 6:30, and it's really obnoxious sounding. And then he doesn't even wake up, so I have to wake up to wake him up. With his alarm,
I feel bad about that. As a kid, my mom had to do that every day. You know, it's why do you even set the alarm? God damn you.
And the thing is, it's hard when you also don't care. Because school, I hated going to school. So I sympathize with him. I'm not even on my side as a parent. I'm on his side.
Yeah.
When he doesn't want to wake up for school,
I don't want to go to school. You're yeah, cool.
Dude, I don't want to go either. I just want to I walk in his room, and sometimes I do this sometimes. I'm sure it frustrates my wife, where I'll walk in, hit his alarm clock, and then just pass out with him. So we're just both passed out. And then my wife has to come in and then wake us both up. Because I'm just I just can't do it. Going to school, I still hate it. The idea of it, walking him to school just brings back memories of how I hated walking to school.
Right.
That's something we all get to look forward to with kids. You get to relive that.
Yay.
Anyways, here's a cool track from Dream Rider. And this is a track, this is probably my favorite one on the album. I dig this one a lot. This is Awakening by Lazerhawk. And that was Awakening by Lazerhawk. And I'm here with Lazerhawk right now for this lovely 100th episode of Beyond Synth.
Congratulations.
It's been nice to talk to you.
Are you going to do 100 more?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
All right. Just checking. So, like, am I gonna be on, like, the 200th one? And, like, is that going to buy me, like, a couple years at least?
Do I have to start bugging you about it now?
Yes, absolutely. I live for that, really.
Yeah. I delete, since I'm so bad at organization, so I delete all my old messages so they don't clog up my Facebook. So I don't have, like, the running record of our whole conversation ever.
Oh, I'm sure I do. I actually have archived them and saved them to the cloud.
Because it would be a funny thing to look at. Because after a while, there's some people who, I know people want me to have them on the show, and I just don't bother. And I get the listeners of Beyond Synth to tweet at Mitch. We call it tweet at Meech. So you do like hashtag tweet at Meech and then tell him to be on the show. He loves it.
I think he's going to do it.
It's his favorite thing, man.
Maybe he'll do the 200th one.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, have you ever, like, heard his voice? Have you talked to him?
I have not.
See, maybe there's like a whole hidden thing where his voice is just really high-pitched and crazy. I mean, up until I spoke with you, the only idea I had was that Michael keeps doing his impression, which is like this heavy Texan accent.
I don't remember hearing that.
He does it every time I talk to him. He does the, y'all.
Oh, okay.
You don't have that accent.
Yeah, I see where he was going with this.
So, but before we wrap this up, so what is Lazerhawk's all-time favorite pinball game?
Oh, Barracuda.
What's that one?
Barracuda is from like 1984, maybe? I don't know, there's something about it. It's super simple, but also complicated, especially for the 80s. It's just awesome. And then after that, it'd be Bram Stoker's Dracula.
See, I always loved, I haven't seen that movie in a long time, but I always loved the way fucking, when Dracula says like, for living blood. And he does this thing where he doesn't really, just the way he says.
Those call-outs are in the game, too.
Oh, nice.
Like that, not particularly, but there's one where he says like, I always drink wine, or I only drink wine, or something
I
like
never
that.
drink wine.
But, yeah, I'm Dracula.
Those seem like such inappropriate call-outs for a pinball game. Like, just,
yeah.
I always imagine those being more like kind of fun things that, like, the sound drops you hear.
Yeah. I think most of the time they are, but it's like, I mean, it's Dracula. What are you going to do? Like, put a happy face on the vampire fangs or something? Is
there any, like, Keanu Reeves quotes in there?
There is. If you have a really terrible score and you end your, like, last ball, he says, I feel like a blundering novice. I think that's from the movie somewhere.
His acting is amazing in that film,
but it's not Keanu Reeves. It's like somebody else doing Keanu Reeves for this.
Amazing. There's a few Star Wars games I've played where, you know, they get sound-alikes
right
for the people, and it's always hilarious. Like, sometimes they're like, they sound okay, and sometimes they're like, what the fuck? I don't know why it is. They made a few Star Wars games now, and whenever they get other people to do Darth Vader, you'd think there'd be somebody out there who could do a good impression.
I don't think so.
But, like, Darth Vader always sounds terrible, like in the video games.
Yeah.
And it's always really surprising to me that they can't find a guy who can do it.
That's a hard one to replicate, I think. James Earl.
I don't know. I feel like there's got to be someone out there. I remember I saw a dude on the internet. This was like one of the first YouTube videos I watched, you know, like those old ones where you can still see and they're like fucking 100 by 100 resolution. It was like Transformers, and it was a dude doing like Optimus Prime, and he does like all the voices, but he's like swearing and stuff. And it's actually pretty funny.
Oh, man.
That's the one where it's just like, he's like getting mad at all the new Transformers because of how shitty they are. It's like, who the fuck is this Autobot? And like, just the dude's fucking, like, his impression of Optimus Prime is so good.
That's impressive, but I've seen videos like that too, where a guy's like doing, you know, 50 impressions in 1 minute or something. And one of the first times that anyone showed me this sort of video was Dave Raposa, and he described the guy as his face is thirsty for fists. Because every voice was a different, like, facial expression, and every facial expression was just like, I want to punch that guy's face.
I have that all the time. People, when they have faces that bug me, and I'm the kind of guy that when something annoys me, I just fixate on it. God, did you ever see, there was this Canadian trio called Before Four, and they had this song called, it's like, if you get down on me, I'll get down on you. Like, it's a fucking garbage song.
Sounds
These dudes
familiar.
are so fucking weird looking. that every time that song was on, I had to watch the video. Like, just like, they're so strange. There's like, it's two twins, or no, it's like twins and then another guy, and they're called Before Four because there's three of them. And the one dude literally looks like, he looked like Sandra Bullock. Like this buff-looking male Sandra. It was the most frustrating thing. They had like those like...
Oh, wow. It's like, it's B, the letter B, 4.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
The number 4.
Watch that video. It'll make you mad.
What kind of a hairstyle? This is sort of like Jersey Shore-ish somehow.
Yeah, but it was like 90s. It was like mid-90s. And I remember laughing because when I went to film school, our cinematography teacher was like the cinematographer on that video. And when I found that out, it's just like, yeah, I did that video. I'm like, what? And like, I couldn't stop asking questions about him. Just like, you fucking filmed that video? Like, Jesus.
I typed in the word before and the number 4, right? And there's like a picture of the 3 guys, and like directly to the left, there's a guy that's like at a gun store buying an assault rifle. So Before 4, like, watch out, fellas, because there's some angry fans out there.
Fucking Google images, man. Anyway, listen, we've had a good time today.
These guys are terrifying. I see what you're talking about.
No, exactly. Like, and if you see the video, they're singing and looking directly into camera, right? So they're looking at you.
They're like moving.
And dude, it is. First of all, the video is about going down on a lady, but it's like not. You know, like when videos and like songs used to be, like the metaphors were a little more veiled,
right?
And then like there was this point where like I remember when I first heard like the thong song,
right?
I was like really surprised. Like it made me laugh because I thought it was a joke.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is a joke song. Like I remember as a college, I remember thinking like that's a funny joke song, and then when it turned out it was like, oh, that's what music is now. Like that wasn't a joke song, and then remember like fucking
we're all screwed.
Who Let the Dogs Out? I remember like listening to that just going like, what the fuck is this? And when I saw the video, I'm like, whoa, it's about dogs? Like I laughed my ass off when
actually about someone letting the dogs out.
When I first heard it, I thought this was like, oh, this is like one of those like mean-spirited songs about like ugly people. And then when I saw the video and was like, it was just dogs running around, I was just like, what the fuck? Like, what is happening?
It's a really important question that you really need to get the answer to. It's who let the dogs out?
I know, man. Someone did.
Someone's to be blamed for this atrocity.
Yeah. Anyways, dude, listen. It was good to talk to you.
All right, man.
Finally,
excellent,
we did it.
100 show. I'd say this is at least the best 100th show you've ever done.
Yeah, man. So listen, dude. What is Purzum?
Oh, Purzum?
Yeah, is that how you say it?
Awesome band that I made up. It goes back to the black metal.
Oh, the beer you drank. Oh, we're tying it all together.
Right. We're tying it. We're going back to that. So there's a band called Burzum with a B, right? And this is a guy that I think he like burned a bunch of churches down in Norway or something, and he's just so metal that he went to prison for it. Right. And there's a one of his covers. Someone's standing in this field and someone else online put a cat's face with like the corpse black metal paint around his eyes.
Nice.
And I was like, there needs to be some music that goes with this. So I am Purzum. It's out. It's official. If you search for it on SoundCloud, you'll find it. It's terrible, but
merging
it's true.
Your love of metal and cats.
Yep, and cats. Right. I even have like names for all of like the members of the band name, and like I was like, how do you make vocals for cats?
Yeah, so how do you do it? What's the solution?
So I found like on YouTube like videos of people like just pissing their cats off. You know? Like, whatever it is that like their cat doesn't like, they're doing it and they're recording it and they think it's funny, and the cat's like hissing at them and growling at them or whatever. That's the vocals. That's it. Great. Go listen to Purzum. Buy the album.
One of these days I'll have you and Michael on. He can be Snacks and you can be Purzum. Like a double header.
Dude, Snacks is where it's at.
Fucking
Dude, look
Snacks.
at this. Like my original Purzum track has got 6,000 plays. I'd like to thank all the Purzum fans out there.
That's amazing.
Is that going to be the outro music? I hope so.
I can play some if you want. You want to send me a track? Send me some Persum? I'll fucking throw it on there.
Do it. Just, hey, here's a fun fact. The first message that you sent me.
Oh, you found it?
January 22nd, 2014 at 10:27 p.m.
Okay.
Hey, man. I've been trying to get a hold of you. It's been a while. But hey, the persistence pays off, everybody.
What did I say next?
You said, howdy. I was wondering if you'd ever be interested in being on the podcast. And I said, podcast? And you said, yeah, Beyond Synth. The one I started last year. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Anyways, that's how we started, man.
Yeah.
January 2014.
That's exciting. That's where it all began.
That's where it all began.
And 3 years of messing with me until you finally fucking
constant bickering and poking and prodding. I've enjoyed every moment of it since January 2014, and I'm glad to be here today.
Well, thank you very much for doing it. And you got new music? You working on stuff? Can you like tease something for like 2 years from now?
I'm like trying to figure out what to do next. I might do like a Breadline 2.
I'll tell you what. It seems like you get a lot of inspiration from watching YouTube clips.
Yeah.
So watch that before 4 video and then see what that conjures inside you.
Oh, that's going to be dirty. All right, I'll try it.
All right. Fucking Lazerhawk. Pleasure, and we'll look forward to more music in the future.
All right, man. Peace. That's something that like B44 might say, I think.
I like leaving a long pause as an awkward goodbye so the other person's like,
yeah.
Bye.
Peace? Goodbye? Adios? All right, man. Take it easy.
All right, take care, dude. And that was Lazerhawk on Beyond Synth. I want to thank you guys for listening to the show. Tune in next time, and thank you for your support. And that's pretty much all I have to say. So, happy birthday to you. I don't know what that means. Thank you all for listening to the show. And yeah, tune in next time to Beyond Synth, the best synthwave chat show there is.